All right, hang on one second. This is why we need backup expertise. Right. We got it. This is not working. Okay. She's going to, they have to check. They're supposed to get them all in. Yeah.
I stopped by your place Thursday, but you were.
Did they tell you that?
Yeah, I told her I'd come back. That's this coming.
I figured you went when I wasn't there.
Yeah, I figured out where the door is.
You know that. So you can come back.
Testing. It's just a battery. All righty. Excuses for technical difficulties here. All right, just a few announcements before we get started. We actually have several here. First off, Trust Circle is taking the month off of July, and they will resume back in August. The Trust Circle downstairs before the service. And today, immediately following the service, we'll have a brief presentation by Alex Ludwig. He's a graduate student at the Department of Nursing and Psychology at UAB, and we're trying to team with UAB on different things, and they're going to come and speak to the public here and there. This is going to be, I think, on anxiety today. Yeah. So please stay for that. And then after that, we're having our potluck and Jesse's celebration for his ordination, his birthday, and everything else. So thank you, Jesse. All right. And July 21st, which is next Sunday, Alabama Hearts for Ukraine will provide a musical selection and offer a small bake sale immediately. So that's next Sunday. Please come with that. And they're having a bake sale to raise money, send back to their families in Ukraine. And we've been supporting that for about a year now. August 4th, in partnership with Sheila Chafin, owner of Passenger Daniels Mansion, please join us for a fall high tea event. It's from 2 to 4, and bring a small dish to share. And Sheila will be giving a tour also. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for the opportunity. It's really a cool, I haven't actually been there, but I went online to see it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the place. It's really amazing. So please join us for that. And lastly, we, over the last year or so, we've been having a few musicians, singers sit in with us, and we've kind of looking for some people to help LaDonna and some extras, and we kept getting requests about Caleb and Vanessa to please come back. We had some other people, but so anyhow, talking to Caleb, he's busy on Sundays, but he's going to try to work into his schedule to be able to come back hopefully once a month or so. And Vanessa Anderson is going to be coming also and sing hopefully once a month or so. So we're excited to have them join us. All right, and that's about it for today. Thank you much.
All right, thank you, Bruce. If you will, join me in a moment of affirmative prayer. Right where you are, allow yourself to rest and relax, knowing that wherever you are, God is, and all is well, because there is not a spot where God is not. So in this sacred space, we give thanks for the presence of God that shows up as each and every one of us. We acknowledge that God is here, only God. So we surrender our faculties, we open our mind to allow God, the infinite good, to move throughout the service, inspiring us to live our best life, providing guidance and correction and wisdom and love as needed, and moving throughout our minds and our hearts and our bodies so that we leave this place better than we came in. We speak blessings on our Monday through Saturday, knowing that the presence of God and the activity of intelligence is guiding us and healing us all through those days that are forthcoming. We speak blessings on those that are on the way here and those that are tuning in online. We affirm together as a collective family that this service is in divine order, and we allow the activity and the presence of good to flow. In the name and the nature of all that is holy, we affirm this service is blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, Unity family. Life is good. Yes, life is good. I'm going to do a short reading and then we'll just go into our meditation. So I invite you to relax. Close your eyes. This reading is by Deepak Chopra. I celebrate every breakthrough I make on the way of being free. Let me read that again. I celebrate every breakthrough I make on the way to being free. The mantra is Moksha Hum, that is, I am free. The reading. Breakthrough is guaranteed if there is enough light. That's Sunday, Najah. You make a breakthrough every time you break out of a habitual response. Habit may veil our awareness, but awareness has real power. At any given moment, if you notice how you really feel and what you really want, old habits begin to dissolve. People can break as many habits as they want by giving themselves freedom of choice. Celebrate every breakthrough the minute it occurs. But know that in reality, there's only one victory. The victory is awareness. So let's take some deep breaths. Breathe in 4, breathe out 6. So let's breathe in and hold for a few beats and then breathe out 6. Breathe in deeply through the nose and out through the mouth. And you're engaging your stomach and your chest when you breathe out. So breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out 6. Breathe in. So if there are any habits that you've been holding on to, just simply let them go. Any feelings and thoughts of not enoughness, just let it go into the nothingness in which it has come. Any focusing on past problems, so-called problems, let them go. Any blame, shame, jealousy, holding on to anything anyone has said that you felt made you feel uncomfortable or undesirable. Just let it go. There's nothing trying to be a something. So we focus on this present moment because it's only the moment. Only this now moment. In this now moment, everything is working together for your good. Everything. You are loved and loved. Every step you take, know that God is right there with you. The peace, the joy, the harmony, the order, the well-beingness, prosperity, all those God qualities are right there for you. So we allow those qualities to reveal all the good, all the peace, all the joy that we really are. That's real us. Anything else is just trying to become a something, and we're not going to let it. We allow only that is the real, that is God, that is the Most High, the Atman presence, the great and Holy Spirit, God Almighty, all beauty, all joy. So let's focus on Mokshaham. I'm free. Take a few moments to focus on Mokshaham. 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 We are free. No thing has power over us. No thing. Moksha home. Continue your breathing. Inside the nostrils and outside the mouth. Relax. Let go, let God have full sway in our lives. Moksha. Let us bring our attention back to this physical space. And I invite you to maintain this feeling tone that's been established. When you walked in the door, I'm sure you feel the presence of God. You felt it when you walked in the door. Matter of fact, you brought it in with you, the presence of God. It is the only life worth living, this presence that is God, that is you, that is me, that is everywhere. And so it is, and so we allow it to be. Ashe, amen, amen. And so we have a song that we're going to sing. So I invite you all to take out your paper. And the song is In the Garden. It'll be over there. Yes.
I'm free.
The road
treatment. Let's plug back into that energy. Can I get something soft just for a second? Healing treatments are some of the terminology that they use in science of mind. But healing treatment, meditation, contemplation, all of these sacred processes, they allow us to simply relax into the present. So I invite you just for a moment, just to relax. Allow yourself to fall back into the arms of your deeper self, known as the infinite good, the infinite presence, the presence that is never in absence. The Fillmore says that when we fall back into this infinite reality, we ascend into what's called the upper room, which is a psychological process of reaching the innermost self, touching, making contact with God. So in this sacred time together, I invite you into this space known as God, the good, omnipotent. If you will, rub your hands together, place one hand on your forehead. And it is in the upper room of consciousness where we meet the divine, where we meet and come face to face with God. Sacred text says, Moses asked to see the face of God. And the president said, Moses, no man has seen me and lived. In other words, no person sees God and lives the same. And with me, take a big, deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Release the divine sound of ah. Stay right here in this same vein, in the upper room, where the presence of God, where the activity of intelligence flows down throughout all of the energy centers, all of the chakras, all of the divine powers, through the throat, down the chest, into the sacral centers, guiding us into divine action. We affirm in this sacred space with the power of our word that our steps are ordered and guided by divinity. We affirm that all is well. All is well. Our life is in divine order. Our minds are in divine order. And in this sacred space, we send out thought energy, calling forth divinity in our lives and in the world, touching our families, healing and enriching everyone around us. And we affirm and know that all things are working together for our good. With me, one more deep breath into the nose. Let it all go. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. If you will, rub your hands together. Let's send this energy to those that are watching online. Say this with me: divine love in us blesses and multiplies all that you are, all that you receive, and all that you hear. Know in this moment you are loved and you are safe, and so it is. Our ministry is supported by partners like you. Remember to log on to unitybham.org and click on giving. Moderators are on standby during and after the service. So if you have a prayer request or you are in need of support, post your comment wherever you see this message, either on Facebook, YouTube, or our website. Also, we have our prayer chaplains on standby in the house. Put your hands together for our prayer chaplains. And so it is, and so it is. The upper room, and I'll get to my message in a second, but I want to unpack this healing treatment a bit. The upper room is a metaphor for a state and a place in consciousness. Secularly, it's a dopamine hit. Whenever you're feeling down and low, your serotonin levels and your dopamine levels are down. You just need a dopamine hit. But the mystics called it the upper room. It's the place where Jesus walked into the room and said to his disciples, "Receive ye the Holy Spirit." Holy Spirit in Hebrew is Ruach HaKodesh. So when you say the word, there's this activity, there's this air that's flowing. And for many of us, what we really need isn't for something to happen out there. We need activity, constant activity, a refreshing to blow every day within us. And the mind and the head is so powerful. It's the state and the place where all of our anxiety, that crushing feeling that comes and it squeezes in your head where things don't go your way, you crunch and you rub in this area. Sacred text says that the crucifixion, which took place on Golgotha Hill. Say this with me, Golgotha Hill. Golgotha means the place of the skull. So crucifixion, anxiety, worry, anxiousness, all of this stuff takes place in the mind up here. And what's equally important esoterically is Golgotha Hill wasn't just a random place. It was actually the place, mystically, where the skull of Adam was buried. So while Adam was buried there, skull, the mind, it's also the place where the cross was, where our spiritual ancestor hung and gave his life. The point, esoterically, is that every time you go into these meditative states, there is an old version of you beneath you that gets pushed down and let go of. And there is something deeper, more expansive within you that tries to rise, that gets up off of the bondage of the crosses of everyday life, the crosses of anxiety, the crosses of worry, the crosses of depression, the crosses of frustration, what we call the stuff that takes us in our life outside of divine order. Now say this with me, divine order. Divine order happens regardless. But what we do when we sit down and we return to our meditative seats and our meditative posture, whether yours is walking the dog, taking a bubble bath, hello somebody, whatever you do to get relaxed and to allow the facilitation of the dopamine to move throughout your mind, to allow your serotonin levels to rise, whatever takes you into that place, what Fillmore calls direct contact, I advise you, especially now with so much stuff going on in the world, do it. We need our spiritual practice now more so than ever. And I'll guide you throughout the message to explain why. But the transformative element in us and in the world is God. Say this with me, God, the good, omnipotent. And unity principles remind us of this because the second principle in unity teachings is that human beings are inherently good because there's a spark of divinity within them. Our meditation reminds us of that. So every time we sit down to meditate, we envision a world where everyone wakes up to their divinity and to their divine nature. And this isn't always an easy process, especially looking out at the news and seeing all the stuff that's going on in the world. But when you sit down and you commit to doing the work of waking up within yourself, you contribute to the collective good that's trying to emerge in spite of all of the bad. So there is always an old energy, an old version of you down there at your feet, metaphorically speaking. But through meditation and contemplation of the good, of what's possible, of what's trying to emerge, of the call that's on your life, what life is calling you to, you are able to lift up your eyes and see something better. Sacred text says that when I am lifted up, I will draw all men in manifestation unto me. Repeat after me. When I lift myself up, I draw everything that I need unto me. And the second most important thing after you've done the meditative work is when you are in this space, according to Fillmore and his prosperity teachings, that when you reach the space of the upper room, then the next task is to speak the word. You know, our words are powerful. We know this, but they don't often feel powerful. When we're in a low vibration, a low space, we're not really feeling who we really are. We're not really feeling ourselves. Our words tend to come out. They flow. We say any old thing. But when you reach this space called the upper room, the upper floor, when you sink deep into your divine self and you feel you've made contact, I invite you from that moment, release the word. Speak the word. Say the affirmation out loud. Speak over your family. Speak over yourself. And speak the good that you know to exist in the world until the world bends and changes. That's alchemy. That's how you create change. Because through that speaking, guess what happens? You don't just hear the voice of God, but you hear your voice Say this with me. My sheep hear my voice, and a stranger they won't follow. So releasing this word, it gives you confidence on a basic level. So now, not only do you know what's possible, but you hear it and you say it, and then you convince yourself. You become what's called a walking, talking, self-fulfilling prophecy. And then, instead of looking out at the world for change, now you've been empowered from the upper room. You've been empowered from the higher, most feel-good states of your own being that we call metaphorically God, the good. And so that change can move through your hands because you felt it, you've made contact, and then you speak the word, you hear yourself, and you get encouraged. David said in articulating the presence of God that when I looked out into the world and I could find no one to encourage me, I encouraged myself. Sometimes the next word that you need to hear isn't a word from other people. You need to hear yourself. You need to hear yourself in a higher vibration. You need to hear yourself in a confident state, more confident sometimes than circumstances dictate. And when you hear yourself, something in you stands up, so that everything that comes that's the opposite of what you feel and what you say, you know it to be a fact. Yes, but you know it's not the truth. And so although change may not happen today or tomorrow or the next moment, by the time you get finished living this thing out, change will come. Sacred text says, these signs shall follow them that believe. Repeat this affirmation with me. These signs shall follow them that believe. When you believe in yourself, the signs follow. Because it's not so much that we need to believe more in God. We get that. That's why we're all here. That's why you're tuning in online. We need belief in ourselves. Because while we believe in God, God is waiting for us to believe in ourselves. Because God can do no more in this world than the willing participants who are willing to say yes and allow that activity and that intelligence to move through them. But this all happens when we quicken our life force, which is today's topic. Say this with me, quickening my life force. We quicken our life force, and quicken, everybody, is a word that we don't really use anymore. It comes out of an older tradition with words like oughts. You ought not do this. Certain words are leaving the English lexicon. But quickening is a sudden change, and it's a transformative change because it makes you different than where you were before. And it describes a process that happens when something comes over you. It gives you the chills almost. Charles Fillmore says that this occurs in his prosperity teachings when we reach the upper room. When we make contact, and here's the thing, you're not making contact with anything that's outside of your direct experience. The scales fall from your eyes like the Apostle Paul, and you realize that that which I have been searching for has been searching for me the whole time. You know what revelation is? Revelation, esoteric, it's mystical, yeah. Revelation is when the scales fall from your eyes and you see what was already there. That is what the presence of God does. It shows you that there is really no separation. And every day we're reminded that true power, true presence, true creativity, true change, it starts inside. When you see change manifested outside of your experience, that is the after effect. But that catalyst, the psychopump, it started internally in someone's. See, sacred text also reminds us that the earth itself, it groans and it moans and it waits in manifestation for the sons and daughters and children of God, the emissaries. So the stuff that you see on the news, the crying, the moaning, the fear, the doubt, the worry, do you know what those are? Those are prayer requests. When we articulate the prayer requests, we participate in the problem and not the solution. So when you hear the crying and the moaning, when we make the first thing first, because if this is our source, it's the source of our creativity, whatever you call it, when you go deep within yourself, you hear the requests of the world, But instead of just getting down there with that stuff and staying there, you rise to a level of feeling and a level of being within yourself, and you ask a higher question. What can I do? What can I do about this? How can God work through these hands? And the presence that is never an absence. It's not like an absentee stepfather. No offense to stepfathers out there. You don't have to beg or borrow or push or force on its own or coerce this power. It's looking for a willing vessel. Because on a simple level, it has no body except for your body. It has no hands except for your hands. It has no mind per se except your mind. Repeat this affirmation with me. Let us take on the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ is an intelligence, which means that you are intelligent. God is intelligence itself. So the presence, however you call this, however you define it, it manifests through all of us based on our individual gifts and our individual abilities. So you don't even have to learn anything new. You just have to accept what you already got. When you embrace what you already got, the fact that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and that there is no stage or an age limit on the activity of intelligence and how it moves through your body, you can do anything. And here's the thing, you were never called by yourself. There is always a team, a community, a group of people who are hearing the same call. In fact, they're hearing it at the same time. In the Jewish tradition, they make a distinction between the call of, here I am, hello, I'm over here, versus, here I am, ready to serve, what would you have me to do? And the word that they use is henemi. Everybody say this word with me, henemi. Henemi is the call of Samuel. It's very different than the call of when your teacher says, Herriott, present. It's very different. It's the call of yes within your soul, inspiring you to change, to do something brand new, to do something unique, to try something that the world has never seen before, or to take something that already exists and to make something new out of it. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. See, our ancestors gave us all this little wisdom to try and show us that you don't have to work so hard. I had an elder tell me one time, Jesse, you don't have to work so hard. They already like you. You ain't got nothing to prove. Just be yourself. And I'm sure they're running around the building right now. If you know who you are, yes, I'm talking about you. But when we say yes to our uniqueness, you even find that all of the labels and the things that we use to discredit ourselves, those actually work for our benefits. One of my favorite TV shows, Monk, used to say, it's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse. His ability to see past the mundane and put together clues and solve a puzzle that took the police basically 30 minutes, the entire episode, to figure out. He figured it out in the beginning. It was a gift and a curse for him because it made him odd. It made him odd amongst everyone that was in his surroundings. But because Monk had an infinite yes within his spirit, as odd as he was, he knew that his gifts would make room for him. And yes, TV shows have spiritual principles embedded within them, at least I think so. Who's quirky and who's odd? You wouldn't be quirky and odd if you were in here. You gotta be quirky and odd if you're in here. Especially if you're in church, we stop. But quickening our life force, it explains a change that happens. And again, this change happens when we embrace all of who we are. And we move so deeply within that embrace that we recognize that what Jesus says, he says, greater works shall you do because I go to my Father. And this is the part that we struggle with, especially as spiritual seekers. It's difficult to put on the teachings of Jesus and embrace the direct words of Jesus because of our worship of our spiritual ancestor. But imagine this, someone as powerful as Jesus looks at you and says you're going to do greater. Yes. You're going to do greater. So unity principles and unity teachings invite you into an English class. They invite you to not just hear all of these affirmations that we repeat, which are biblically based, but they invite you to take them on in a first-person awareness. Because if you are not separate from God, if all that God is, God's panentheism, all that God is, spread apart equally, spread apart all throughout the world, spread equally through you, there's no more God in me than there is God in you. If you say these things in first-person presence and first-person principle, you invite your soul into that partnership where we talk about oneness. The Father and I are one. And the only way for you to drive that car is for you to say these sayings in first person. So you substitute thou for I. And it's scary. But when you say, I and the Father are one, are you saying you're one with God? Uh-oh, that's scary. You're not one with God. You got anxiety. You got depression. Well, what if your anxiety and your depression were gifts from God? What if they were messages and signals that life was trying to tell you, you just had a problem with interpreting them, which we'll find out more about later on today from our brother Alex. My point is, when you embrace all of who you are and recognize, like the mystics, and the mystics got close. They got close and they were right there. Meister Eckhart, repeat this affirmation with me. The self of myself is God. Meister Eckhart looked deep within the eyes of himself and saw the face of God, which changed his entire life, which is why all of his writings are super mystical. So when you embrace that oneness daily by coming back to your yoga mat, coming back to your prayer, your meditation. If your meditation is a massage, do that. If your meditation is going to see the chiropractor, do that. If your meditation is walking your dog, do that. If your meditation is sitting down, whatever you need to do to plug in, to get that dopamine hit, to feel good, to feel God, do that. Because that is how you quicken, you change your consciousness. Because that's where the work is. You don't physically need to do anything else different than you've already done, but to change the way you think. Fillmore says that thought has the ability to change consciousness in a way that physical going back and forth can't. So when you sit in that sacred space and sit in that sacred moment and you feel into goodness, you feel into God, you receive a new thought. And with that new thought, you articulate that word, speak that thing out loud. Hear yourself confident, strong, and powerful. And the presence known as God, which is never in absence, equally spread out throughout the world. Not just the Holy Spirit, but the whole entire Spirit of God moves within you and inspires you to action. I want to tell you a story before I wrap up. Our text on today comes from the book of Acts. And Acts is an interesting text because although we look at it separately, Acts and Luke were actually written as a complete saga. They're actually a two-part book, even though we look at them separately. But Acts 16 depicts a character by the name of Paul, and everybody knows Paul. The church is obsessed with this guy. Paul was a felon, in and out of jail. Paul stayed in trouble a lot. And in this particular tale, Paul is in trouble not by himself, but he got someone else in trouble too. Silas. Paul and Silas managed to find their way in an area called Macedon or Philippi, which is over there in modern-day Turkey in that Mediterranean area. And Turkey or Macedon is an interesting historical sort of place because Philippi, where Paul and Silas were imprisoned in Acts 16, was founded or renamed by Philip II. And Philip II is someone that everybody might not know, but we all know his son, Alexander the Great. And so Philip II founded that region called Philippi in that area of Macedon because it had gold there. And he wanted control over those gold mines. Say this with me. There's gold in you. And so Philip II founded that area. Later on, Paul and Silas found themselves in jail there, but I don't want to focus too much on the historical part, just want to give you some context. And this occurred in 57 AD, a time in the world when the world was going through all kinds of stuff. There was trouble in Imperial China, trouble in Japan, Britain and Wales were fighting, all kinds of stuff going on in the Roman Empire. But Paul and Silas during that time found themselves in jail, and this is what they did. Now, spiritually, esoterically, when we look at sacred texts, we look at them psychologically. So we see them as processes that occur within ourselves, within our minds, within our bodies. Paul and Silas being in prison is no different than us being in prison in our own minds. So Paul and Silas, while they're in Philippi, in jail, because of some stuff that they got into, decided to go into prayer, decided to go into meditation. In fact, sacred text says they sang hymns and praises to God. And in the process of turning within to their spiritual practice, a quickening occurred within their life force, and sacred text says there was an earthquake. And if you think about your life, the times where you were in trouble, activity, intelligence, or divine intervention, it may not have occurred right then and there, but when you turn within and stay steadfast with your practice, something in you and outside of you changed. Divine intervention came. And this practice that Paul and Silas did when they were in trouble praying, it's no different than what people have been doing for generations before and what people are still doing generations after. In fact, historically, Paul and Silas' praying and singing of the hymns is very similar to Socrates' hymns, where he prayed and sung, who lived several hundred years before Paul and Silas. My point, this practice of turning within before you go without is a generational practice that we've inherited from our human ancestors. Regardless of your spiritual technique, regardless of your spiritual practice, what's most important is that it works, and it works on you. My invitation, find the thing that quickens your life force more so than anything else that you could do in your usual routine. If you do that consistently, it will change you and change everything else in your life. Almost done. Sacred text says that spiritual practice or the presence of God is a help in the time of trouble. We've all heard that, right? Imagine what life is like when you turn to these practices consistently instead of when we're in trouble, when we're locked in jail, locked in prison in our own minds, locked by anxiety, locked by depression, and we can't get out. These things that we do to lift ourselves up, they change and they make us better. And then from this space, we can bless the world. We can bless our families. We can bless our communities. All because we found something that works. So in this space with me, join me by making a collective yes and by agreeing that every day, 10 minutes a day, we'll turn to our practices, whether it's sacred reading, meditation, yoga, and allow ourselves to become better by making contact with the presence within so that it quickens our mortal souls and it inspires us to go out and be change agents in the world. Everybody say yes to that if you agree. Yes. Thank you for listening. Peace and blessings. Our offering. For those of you that are watching online, remember to log on to unitybham.org and click on giving. And Madonna is going to give us a special selection while the ushers make their way forward to collect the offering for those that are in-house. Take it away, LaDonna. offering. See this with me. We bless this offering. Affirming it will be used for the building of this ministry. We bless the givers. We declare their giving will return to them with good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And so it is. Put your hands together one more time.
All right, we can all stand for let there be peace on earth. Prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is.
Wherever I am, God is.
And all is well. All right. Please, everybody, hang with us for about 15, 20 minutes for a presentation.
We have a presentation by our dear brother Alex. We're going to ask that you come on back in the sanctuary. Let's show him our undivided attention and our support. If we could just borrow you for a few minutes.
We got a quick presentation.
We're killing you up right now.
Hey everybody, my name's Alex. I'm a nurse practitioner student at UAB with the Psych Nurse Practitioner program, and I'll be doing a quick lecture for you guys. I know y'all are ready to eat and get on with the potluck, so I'll make it short, sweet, And basically my presentation will be about generalized anxiety. We'll be kind of differentiating some aspects of fear versus anxiety versus the actual disorder itself. As soon as this rolls up. Everybody doing okay today?
Yes.
Eating the heat?
Yes.
Nice in here.
Oh, and Ashley, would you mind passing out? This is my wife, Ashley. She's going to pass out some evaluations. If some of y'all could do them for me, I already got a little bit filled out. Okay, all right, and we'll get on with it.
He only needs 10. Who wants to do an
I'll
evaluation?
do one.
Okay.
Do you want us to sit together in a group? Or do you want
Oh,
to
go on,
go
go on,
Okay.
get
Oh,
on.
sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. So, generalized anxiety, that's my name. My full name right there, UAB School of Nursing.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and click to the next one. All right, so our goals for today, I'm gonna, like I said, differentiate between generalized anxiety disorder. We'll just call it GAD from now on, just to shorten things up a little bit. And we'll discuss the prevalence and demographics of it, and I'm also going to provide some education on the treatment of it, as well as some coping mechanisms that y'all can bring today. Okay, so fear. Fear is very much an emotional response. It is a threat that's here and present to us. So I'm on a hike and I see a bear. Oh my gosh, here's a bear. All right, we have this as a defense mechanism. It's very much part of our fight or flight response. So that's basically your body is just dumping out adrenaline, essentially. And so you're prepared to either fight the bear or run away from it as fast as you can. So one example of fear is my dog Winston right here. Great little Shih Tzu mix rescued by my wife over here. Winston is very terrified of thunderstorms himself, any kind of thunder, and he is running away. We can go ahead and click on to the next one, but as you can see, overall, not very anxious. He's sleeping all right. Doesn't have that much of a survival instinct here, but just enough to be, hey, I'm scared, I don't know what's going on, but I need to run away, or I need to fight, whatever is here. My dog loves to go on walks. My wife and I actually did a travel nurse assignment back in 2022 in Oakland, California. Beautiful park system there. You can very much have your dogs off leash, have a fair amount of them. It's allowed and everything. If we'll click on to the next one. One time we were hiking and we saw this sign right here. So yeah, Winston got a whole lot of fight in him. He's only 18 pounds of our fight and joy. So, anxiety is what I'm feeling coming into the woods after seeing this sign. I'm trying to pick out and prepare and get ready for any kind of threats to my dog or myself. You know, I can't really take a mountain lion. You know, I'm quite squishy myself. So, very much looking at future dangers. What could be going on? Could there be one here? So I'm going about cautiously. Okay, well, we'll go on. Okay. All right, well, there we go. Thanks. Good communication. We're doing great. All right, so we're going around cautiously. That means, you know, I'm looking out, I'm looking in the woods, I'm looking for prints, anything that could be, hey, we've got a cougar here. I'm possibly having an avoidance situation. Maybe I don't want to get over to this group of trees over here because there could be a cougar over here. And also vigilance is just, once again, I'm looking around, I'm getting ready for it. Ready to fight this cougar if it comes for Winston. Now here we go. Yeah. So generalized anxiety disorder. The fear, the anxiety, both totally normal. Survival mechanisms put in by us biologically, spiritually, psychologically. Okay? Generalized anxiety disorder is when this anxiety becomes so much it's interfering with your life. So this is straight from the DSM-5, which is kind of the psychological psychiatry Bible, as it were. Just we kind of try and define these disorders, these maladaptive thought processes that we have in this very complex human brain. So generalized anxiety disorder, just the way that we kind of try and put our parameters here is the main symptom is excessive anxiety, worry. Okay, so I'm thinking about a lot of different things. It's happening very frequently, more days than not, and it's gotta be within the period of 6 months, all right? So 6 months of this happening over and over. Several events or activities. I'm worried about work. I'm going to work. I'm scared about work. I'm scared about talking to people at work. What am I going to do with this big project? Oh my gosh, school, I have this paper coming up. Oh man, what if I fail out of nursing school right now? And this is going constantly. My performance here, oh, my presentation, ooh, nervous, talking in front of a lot of people. And I'm thinking about this so much, and I can't control it over a 6 month period that's interfering with my life. That is generalized anxiety disorder. It's when this is no longer manageable, and it is a problem. We can click to the next slide. We also want to have 3 of these symptoms or more added on to it. So our restlessness, I can't really sit down or anything. I gotta be going, always activated, moving around. Easily fatigued because you're so activated, ready for this threat all the time. You get tired, you get a headache. You wanna go home and just lay down because it's too much on your body. I can't concentrate because I can't go and I can't read, I can't do my homework, I can't focus on my meal prep for the week because so much of my mental headspace is taken up with this worry. Irritability, we're always activated, all right? So we get mad about little things just because we're so much on the edge and ready to go into this fight or flight response. Muscle tension, it's just another part of it. It's a physical symptom. And because we're so activated and worried about these threats, it's interfering with our sleep. We can't relax and shut down and rest the way we need to. Okay. Another thing with it is that, like I said, as I've been saying, has to interfere with multiple parts of your life, and everything, any kind of psychological issue, disease, disorder going on, we've got to rule out a medical condition or a substance and other mental disorders. Okay, so if I have, it's better explained by depression, like I have some of these signs and symptoms, like I can't concentrate because I'm depressed, I'm easily fatigued because I'm sad all the time. That would be an instance of that. And also, like I said, substances here, if you're having troubles with like drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes and you're having these symptoms really kind of at the end of the day when you haven't had a drink or a cigarette, that's attributable to a substance. So that's kind of how we differentiate here. We can click over to the next one. Okay, so epidemiology, who all is saying, hey, pretty sure I have anxiety. All of this is from a branch of the CDC called the National Center for Health Statistics. I believe these are kind of pulled from census information. So the lifetime prevalence in the general US population, 4.3%. That's a big amount. We have over 300 million citizens here in the United States. So think about, what would that be, a couple 100,000, getting into the millions, really? Women are more likely to have anxiety, really almost twice as much more occurrence than men. Transgender, very much a higher incidence of more prevalence for them versus cisgender. I didn't like that we had just LGBT all grouped together for this. I wish that we could have split that up because I think about that would have been cool to kind of see how it differentiated. Bisexual individuals actually have a higher occurrence than lesbian and gay individuals. Wow. And both in general, like look how much more than straight individuals. Double for LG groups and 4 times more for bisexual groups. And Caucasians are actually have slightly higher occurrence than people of color. Okay. Okay, so risk factors, very much genetics are playing a role here. Now, whether there could be, a physiological aspect here. It could be kind of more of a nurture thing, but really this is just raw data here that they're saying. So it's really saying, if your mom has anxiety herself, it's probably very likely you have a higher risk of you gaining that as well. With our environmental, so childhood adversity and just having parents that are a little bit more helicopter parents, not really letting children go and do things on their own and learn, hey, you know, I overcame going swimming here, all right? I was able to do this on my own. If I have a mom that's telling me, hey, we're not touching water until we're 10 years old, I'm probably gonna be a little bit more anxious around water. It's kind of that saying. And childhood adversity is just, you have really traumatic events, so I have a bully or something like that, or I have issues at home, like my family has a divorce, you know. That is the adversity that we're talking about here, where you're having a big life event, a stressor, when you're too young to really be able to cope with it. Temperamental, which the temperamental aspect is really talking about how just people are, our personality. Some of us can be a little bit quicker to anger, a little bit easier to be sad. My wife cries a lot of sad dog stories very easily, so keep her off Instagram. So our behavioral inhibition, that's really kind of talking about people who aren't really going to go and do things, go out and be with friends and stuff, or just have behaviors, so really kind of reeling back whatever they're going to do. So I don't want to go out on this date. I'm going to stay home. So I don't go out and learn how to function in society. Everything's still scary for me. Negative affectivity and harm avoidance. So once again, it's just, you're not being exposed to the things that's just part of life, how we learn and how we grow and how we overcome all of our stressors here. So we can go on to the next one. Okay, so comorbidities, we're looking at ways that people who have had anxiety, had generalized anxiety, what they're more likely for. So there's very much a comorbidity of depressive disorders. So this is unipolar as opposed to bipolar depression. So just feeling sad, all right? So people a lot of times will have patients who have anxiety and they're not going out, they're scared about this, and because they're not able to go about in life because of all this anxiety they have, they then feel overly sad about it, and that keeps their mood low. Other anxiety disorders very much can go in line with it, so panic disorder, OCD, separation anxiety, and general phobias. All of those are in the same wheelhouse as anxiety, and you have a high likelihood if you have generalized anxiety to have one of these as well. Panic is probably the most common one that I see, where people will have panic attacks so much that they're scared to go because they're going to have a panic attack. They're worried about that happening and feeling embarrassment from it. And then, of course, our substance use, cognitive disorders, psychosis, and other disorders, they're a little bit less common. Substance use disorders, you know, some people might, use substances a little bit more to kind of cope with it, but there really isn't as much of a correlation as our depressive disorders and other anxiety disorders. Okay, so consequences. So this going untreated, having trouble, just functioning here at home, at work, at school. If you're so anxious, if I'm talking to a patient and I'm already wrapped up, it's going to be very hard for me to stay cool, calm, collected, and help them process what they're going through. So I'm sure everybody can relate to that at work. If you're keyed up and you can't really maintain that professionalism that you need, this can interfere with that. Impairment as far as having issues with sleep and other symptoms. So if I'm all tensed up and tired all the time and I can't focus, then that's not even talking about me functioning at home, but just here it's hard to function when you haven't even been able to sleep well, or you just feel tired all the time. And there is links for high risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attack, heart failure, and stroke. So very much don't want this to go untreated, and we'll get to treatment here. I think it's the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so I do have psychopharmacotherapy up here. So that's basically, we're talking about drugs, all right? That's not necessarily always what we have to do, because very much therapy itself can be a very good treatment for this. Not everybody needs medication. Medications that we're usually talking about are going to be your SSRIs or antidepressants, so your Zoloft, your Lexapros, your Prozac, stuff like that, which is a very easily tolerated drug, but if you can go and you can see a therapist and you can learn coping mechanisms, how to deal with your stress of your day-to-day life, then hey, maybe you don't need a pill. Breathing exercises are one of these coping mechanisms, and I'm actually going to be going through one of those today. Oh, well, we'll go through it right now. So, we'll go through it in a minute, y'all. All right, so yoga. I found a lot of articles about yoga helping out. It very much helps you have this state of mental awareness. We're kind of talking about mindfulness here. Being able to clear our minds and control our emotions, recognize them, and kind of self-soothe here. Also, exercise, period, is great, and yoga can very much provide that. Lavender oil supplements, I found a fair amount of evidence that those are actually helpful. Most of the evidence supporting that, it has said that the oral route is the way to go. Still kind of doing some research about your diffusers and everything, but I don't want y'all all going out here and popping lavender supplements right now, so please talk to your doctor first. Just make sure that, whatever kind of medication regimen you might be on, that your doctor's aware of it and they go, okay, because you do have some supplements that will interfere with other medications. So if you're on a blood thinner because you got AFib or whatever else have you, I don't want you popping lavender and something going on. So talk to your doctor first. All right, we can go on to the next. All right, so box breathing. This is breathing exercise here. This is straight from the Cleveland Clinic. It's just a great, easy way. It's simple. Think about, you have a box here. We have 4 sides. We have 4 seconds, okay? We're going to spend 4 seconds breathing in and hold for 4 seconds. And breathe out. And hold for 4 seconds. And you just keep doing that. So what's really good about this, the way that it works is our whole fight or flight response. I've been saying that this whole time, okay? So fight or flight, what's going on as far as our bodies is our heart rate is jumping up, blood pressure jumping up, because we gotta go. We gotta have this blood flow, we gotta be able to run, we gotta be able to fight. And that very much contributes to this anxiety. It's a feeling that we have. Our respirations also go up with it, our breathing. So that's the one thing out of all of that that we can really have control over. So it kind of works as a feedback mechanism. So if you're controlling your breathing, your body kind of says, hey, okay, like we've stopped, we're taking slow breaths right now. We're not doing that when we're running or fighting, so hey, maybe stuff is okay right now. So the more that you do this, the more effective it is. And we can go on to the next one. Another one is grounding. So this is a branch of mindfulness. This is very much pulling you from this internal experience, these future worries and everything, and bringing you to the here and the now. So by bringing you to the present, we're not really focused over here. It's kind of a little bit of a distraction technique. So the way that you'll go about it is you stop, you pause, and you take a look around, pick out 5 things that you can see. Kind of describe them to yourself. I see this piano, all right? It's shiny, it's black, it makes beautiful music. I love the piano. Look at this carpet here. Turquoise, so great, reminds me of the ocean. And you just keep going around like that. 5 things you can see. It pulls you to the here and now. 4 things you can feel. I can feel the piano. It's cool. It's kind of hard. 3 things I can hear. I can hear the air conditioning here. I can feel my heart beating and it's slowing down. I can smell. That one's a little bit harder, so maybe you got to dig around for that a little bit. But you can even go and bring in your own stimuli to yourself. So if you have like perfume or aromatherapy, you can some of that lavender oil we just talked about. Lavender. I grew up with lavender. That's nice smell. Coffee down. Great. One thing you can taste, that one, like I said, that one's probably a little bit harder too. They did say, hey, if you have a candy or you have chewing gum or something, that's one thing that you can use. Just all of these going down the sequence, at the end of it, that's 10 different things or 15 different things, math, right? 15 different things to calm yourself down. You're taking time to describe each of these and look around and hear around and get them. So it's very much distracting yourself from this future, this anticipation, and bringing it here. Okay, so prevention. This one was a little bit difficult because it's not really quite like a physical type of deal. You know, we can prevent high blood pressure through exercise, you know, good diet, and using calming measures here. So one thing is primary care screening. So there are some tools, so little Quizlets, where if you're saying, hey, I think I'm a little bit of an anxious person, I might need some help with that, your doctor can screen you for that. And just your regular old vanilla run, vanilla anxiety, doctors can help with that. I found one study that was really interesting. It was done in Quebec, where they actually had a program for middle schoolers from grades 7 and 8, I think up to 9. And they actually did screening for everybody, and everybody got the same education, providing coping mechanisms and helping them recognize symptoms of anxiety and ways to deal with it. So getting that done early on and providing that to people is a really great way to help prevent it in general. And then, of course, awareness. All right, I'm here, I'm letting y'all know about anxiety. I'm all be aware of this and carry on to friends. So if you have somebody that's like, I didn't get any sleep last night, you know? I just hadn't been able to eat like you usually do. Well, what's going on? Well, I'm worried about this and that and this and this. Hey, you know what? I think you should go to your doctor, or I think you should look for a therapist here. I think you might have anxiety. Okay, we can go on to the next one. Here's some community resources. So with therapists, man, therapists are so hard to snag here, and I know it's a long wait, but a lot of times my patients, Psychology Today is a good resource. If you go to Psychology Today, you can type in your location, cities, and it will show a bunch of different therapists that are registered with Psychology Today, give you credentials and what their specialties are. Just give them a whole profile, complete with ratings and everything else. The Birmingham Crisis Center and the CRED Crisis Center. So crisis centers are more for psychological emergencies. So people are able to go there, you know, just if there's any kind of thoughts of hurting yourself or somebody else, anything like that, that's what these are here for. The JBS Mental Health Authority, this is the Jefferson, Blount County, and St. Clair County Mental Health Authority. So it's part of the Alabama Mental Health Council. Have all different centers here, and I actually have the website for it here, but I'm sure that you can Google it. And Jesse, if later you want me to email you these resources, I can do that too. JBS just has, like I said, a lot of community-based stuff. So it's really great for people that are on Medicare or maybe don't have any insurance at all. And this is part of a larger nonprofit corporation as well. And Magic City Acceptance Center is a great resource for LGBTQ individuals. There's also the Magic City Wellness Center, which is more of their medical outlook of it. And I believe that they're actually breaking ground on inpatient and intensive outpatient facilities. Get a little short of breath. So yeah, that's another great resource here. All right, we can click on to the next. And that's just references the next 4 slides. And Jesse has this, so if any of y'all want to read some interesting articles, got a lot for you. I know, I really try to make it bigger, guys. It's just so much. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Do we have any questions from the audience? No? Okay. Yes, sir.
This was like something that is very difficult to tell myself I have anxiety. Normally somebody else is going to try to tell me that I have anxiety by behavior.
So if you're suspicious that, you feel like you might have anxiety, train professional. So go and see about talking with a therapist or with, the mental health center like here at UAB. That's where I do my clinical, so very much, it's very comprehensive and I like it, or any of these resources here.
So I I imagine a lot of people will be in denial about having anxiety.
There's very much a stigma with mental health in general.
So my question is there a questionnaire or some kind of a test that you can administer to people where the score level that the result of the test is in would let them know what level of anxiety they have?
So there is a screening tool that we use. It's called the GAD-7, so GAD-7 as in the disorder. I still very much, as far as like treatment and everything, would encourage like seeing a professional about it and everything. But those are online. If you're wanting to check that out, you can take a look. Or if you want to see about making an appointment or anything, I can talk to you after. Is that
not for me? It's for somebody else.
For somebody else? Yeah, go ahead and get them to take a look at it. Ain't gonna hurt. Yes, ma'am.
2 questions. First, of the study you were citing where it was 7th, 8th, and or 9th graders, is that a reaction to school shootings the last 10 years? What's gone on is the first question. That's what I perceive it to be. Second question, if you could recite for us, since we have different ages, races, and everything else in the room, what are typical issues in your clinical practice or that which you have learned about for each of the ages?
Okay. So first question, this was actually a study done in Canada. It was in the Quebec province. That age group, kind of the preteen getting into early teen years, that's when anxiety is usually starting to pop up. So just like any other kind of disease process, the earlier that we can get to it, or even if we can prevent it in general, the better. Because the longer it's around, the more likely we are to have complications or comorbidities coming up with it. Can you repeat that second question for me?
Second was, based upon all you now know in your
Yes.
training and about to do 40-year career in, what are the most common anxiety diagnosis, I guess is the word, of the different ages, sexes, race, and everything else? We have a variety of who's in the room. And what is your answer?
That is a lot of information
I know.
that I don't have to spit out.
I know, I'm just going for the global summary.
Yes, ma'am. So very much depression, like mood disorders and anxiety disorders. Women are more likely for that to occur. Men, there is, just taking the raw data, are a little bit more likely to present schizophrenia, and women are more likely to present with bipolar. So both of those two diseases, you know, once they pop up, it's very evident usually, because with bipolar, you have your depressive episode, and then you're going to have to differentiate into bipolar based off of a manic episode. And the way we treat depression and irregular major depressive disorder, unspecific depressive disorders, it's going to be different than bipolar depression. Different chemical reactions are going on in your brain, different stuff is popping off in each one, and different medications are going to be used and different kinds of therapy. I'm trying to think what else. I know that, so suicide is definitely, it's a 3-to-1 male to female ratio of that. So that's very much something that I would love everybody to be aware of. Men are much more likely to complete that. Any kind of at-risk group, so people that are in jails or below the poverty line, all of that, they're also at a higher risk for any, just across the board, mental disorders, the incidence of them, as well as poor outcomes at the end of it. Yes, ma'am.
In cases where you maybe have friends or family members who know they have a problem, you've reached out with lots of information and they still are not willing to do anything about it. And it's frustrating for family and friends when their loved ones are having issues and they can't seem to be motivated. What do you suggest for family members and friends in those situations? Because you just can't control people.
So
you can't make people get help.
So that is very much part of the big problem with mental health, is that people are not open to, hey, I have a problem, until it's really a problem. Okay.
Right.
So when people hit their breaking point, a lot of times they're coming in for help. So as far as family and everything, in general, I'd say a gentle approach is better than drawing hard lines or trying to force somebody in, because once you meet that resistance, most of the time people are just going to dig their heels in and resist more. So one thing that can be done is what we call motivational interviewing. And that's very much a therapy technique. So one thing is, let's say I need to work on my paper today and I don't feel like doing it because writing a paper is boring. Okay, so are you feeling okay that you're not doing anything with this paper? Not so great. I'm a little bit anxious about it. Okay, well, do you think that going on and getting a little bit started on this paper, you think it's a little bit just get the ball rolling could kind of be helpful for you? Would you feel better about that? Not really with my tone. That was not a very professional tone of mine. But you get the picture.
Yes.
A gentle and kind of like more holistic approach, just kind of easing our way in. Doing like an intervention and blindsiding somebody, I would not do that.
No.
But really, ultimately, you can't really help people if they can't help themselves.
That's
and
right.
really, you just gotta kind of be there for them for whenever they do realize that they need help. Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
yes.
Okay. Got any more questions? Okay.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you for having me all. Really do appreciate it. I hope that you really circle out here. Stop breathing if you want to look that up. You can just Google it, or any kind of mindfulness exercises. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, that's just one of many things that you can do. All right, well, thanks again, y'all. Have a great afternoon and enjoy the potluck. Happy birthday,
Thank you, everyone. Please help yourself to some food.